So this is kind of, I would say, everywhere. It's almost it looks like, maybe it's a good comparison, maybe not, but let's see if I can find this. How do you spell this? Halloween, yeah. And I'm not trying to make fun of your work. I'm just I think this will, at least in my mind, this was a good illustration of what I'm trying to tell you. So let's see. The thing that I kind of have a little bit of an issue with when it comes to what you've done, and this is something that I also find myself in quite often, and what that is something that we've discussed as well, is the connection between the muscles, right? So it's completely fine, I think, to work in this kind of a way. For you it's probably natural. I just know that for me this is a stage in the process, meaning that at first I do the kind of the block outs, right? I do the shapes, the bigger ones. So on something fairly low poly like this one, right, I would just sculpt with dam stand with a clay build-up brush, right? So I kind of make sure that the silhouette and the forms are they have some volume, right? Then as I kind of progress and I do a lot of sculpting on top, my whole model becomes like this, right? It just becomes very, very messy. I see just strokes, right, like that. And so obviously this is not desirable, right? So what I do next is I just clean up everything, and cleaning up involves a lot of smoothing out, right? And so I focus, when I do this kind of smoothing, I focus on individual muscles, right? And so kind of my goal at this point is to make sure that the muscles, they not only have the volume, but they actually resemble the thing that I want them to resemble, right? The deltoids look like deltoids, pectoids, pecs, they look like pecs, abdomen like abdomen, etc., etc., right? The problem with this, at least to me, is that because I am kind of focusing on individual parts, cleaning individual parts, once the cleaning up is done, the muscles, they very often don't seem to be connecting with one another, right? And this is something that I do see in your model, meaning that the kind of the separation between the muscles, they are too big, meaning that I can kind of separate them like that, right? Even though I modified the trapezius, but nonetheless it was previously done this way. So we have all of those shapes, right? But in between those shapes, I don't see anything, right? I don't see any kind of indication that those muscles are somehow connected. And I don't mean that those muscles are literally connected with some tendons. They're not, right? The muscles, they connect not to one another, they actually connect to the bone, right? To the carcass, which is ribs and the spine and etc. But you need to indicate that between those bigger muscles, the ones that we see, the ones that are pronounced, there are also a whole lot of things going on underneath, right? And you don't really need to know what exactly is taking place there, but you need to create some kind of a connection between those muscles. Otherwise, it feels like those shapes are just done for the sake of shapes being in there, right? Rather than this resembling a functional human being or a functional creature. It doesn't matter, a character, right? So this is kind of, I would say, everywhere. It's almost it looks like maybe it's a good comparison, maybe not, but let's see if I can find this. How do you spell this? Halloween, yeah. And I'm not trying to make fun of your work. I'm just I think this will, at least in my mind, this was a good illustration of what I'm trying to tell you. So let's see, like this, right? So I mean, literally, what's happening in here is those shapes, they're just kind of put on top of the underlying structure, right? They just literally kind of lying on top. It doesn't matter for this well, it's a very cheap costume. It doesn't have to be resembling anything, believable. It's kind of, that's the point behind this costume, but it just illustrates really well that all of those pieces, they're just separate pieces, right? You can see them being kind of separate, especially here, right? And this is something that I see your model exhibiting as well. So all of this, well, maybe not this part, but certainly this part, it looks like it was just kind of slapped on top of the structure that is lying underneath, right? The same goes for, let's say, maybe even the pecs, even though they're done well, it's just that they just first of all, they're just too big, they're large, they're extremely big, and I'm going to try and modify it and see if it's going to improve it or not. But this is the issue with that, and obviously the back is kind of everywhere, has this this kind of effect, right, of just shapes being shapes lying on top. And so what I do when I'm in this kind of a stage, and I very often I am in this kind of a stage, I try to, well, bridge the muscles a little bit better, right? So in this case, the distance between this muscle, right, and this muscle should be a little bit kind of smaller. And I do this with clay buildup as well, right? Even though it creates this this messy look, it doesn't matter. I just kind of immediately clean up, and I fill in some of the gaps between the muscles, right?